That's you next week, yeah. So, yeah, definitely quite a few people said they were away this week. So last week I did the watercolour demo, which turned out a little bit like that. So that was the sort of the skies, painting skies, using the masking fluid, letting it dry, and then popping the washes over the top, and then that dry and taking it off. So that was that one. And I think what I might have done, I can't remember. The only thing I was quite pleased with that because I don't do a lot of watercolour. But the only thing is, it leaves you with very hard edges. So what you can do is just get a clean brush and clean tissue, and actually the bristle brush works quite well with that, and just kind of soften the edges off that way. Obviously, if you're painting that big, you've got a lot of softening to do, but it's one way of just using watercolours. So that might be a possibility if you wanted to use watercolours. I've used oils today. This was the Tuesday demo, and I don't think they look too different, but I sort of went about them slightly different. I think these clouds, I did the darker colours around first, and then put the white in, and this one I put the white in, and then the darker colours around.
Yeah,
so
that's what I did wonder.
Yeah.
Used to do
It's water, the oils, so it's water mixable oils, be exactly the same as ordinary oils. I mean, the other thing is if you wanted to work in layers, you could paint like some blue, let it dry, and then come back another day and paint clouds over the top. But most of the time, I tend to try and work in one layer. I see. So you can either sort of sketch out, usually just sketch out with thin paint. So in this case, I'm just thinning the paint with water. And then you could kind of sketch a cloud shape. This is a bit of canvas I used for another demo, as you can see. But as you know, I like working on a toned surface, and I've actually used canvas for this because it's got a way of sort of softening out the brushwork. The couple of paintings I brought in, this, I'll just show you this one. This one I've done on canvas. So this one's going into an exhibition tonight. So, but it's an example of clouds and skies. But this one is on canvas, and it helps to kind of soften the brushwork, just having that bit of texture. Whereas this one's on board, and as you can see, it kind of does rather show up the brushwork. So this board works really nicely for subjects like this, like architectural subjects, where I want sharp lines, but it's harder to soften out the skies, really. So that was Malvern, painted on Monday. I won a prize for best urban scene.
Thousands of pounds.
100 quid. It wasn't a huge prize. Another way of approaching it is if you wanted to use pencil, I would use a pastel pencil. In that you can kind of draw out your shapes, and you've got some lines to work up with. And these greys will sort of blend nicely in with the paint. That I think you can see, because this is quite a dark colour, that shows up, but just something that's dark enough for me to be able to see what work there. Other things to say, I think with skies, quite often the blue is more intense at the top, and then you'll get slightly warmer, maybe pinky, yellowy colours in the blue as you're coming down. Perhaps you can see a little bit in between the clouds here, it's slightly lighter and perhaps slightly warmer colours, so that's something to look out for. And obviously with these clouds, they're going back in space, so they're appearing smaller and closer together. Right, so I'll just show you a couple of approaches. If you're working on a tone ground, so you could, for the white bits, these are actually very, very white because I think the sun was up here somewhere, so they're almost like backlit, or just caps on the top. I quite often just put a tiny bit of colour in though with the white. So in this case, I'm putting a little bit of yellow just to warm that up a little bit.
Is it cadmium yellow or lemon
I've used cadmium, yeah. So this is like a slightly orangey. I've lost my little tray that I normally sit down. I thought I had it this morning, but I just use a tiny bit of that one.
Yeah.
It just gives it a slightly, just kind of warmed it up a little bit. So you can make your mind up whether you want to do that or not. This canvas is actually quite a strong texture. Some are smoother than others, but it will have the effect of just being able to soften the brush marks out a little bit. So that'd be one approach. And then the other approach, I'll try the blues first and the shadows underneath the clouds.
So what do you normally do though with the preference?
I can't remember. I think I do a bit of both really.
Okay.
Yeah. In some ways, I'm thinking, having done the two on Tuesday, I'm not always that conscious of what I do really. I think I prefer doing the light first and then doing the greys around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's mix some blue. So I'm just using a bit of ultramarine and a little bit of cerulean. Just mixed together. Sorry. Right, just go around this one a little bit. So basically kind of leaving a gap for the lighter bit, and then there'll be shadow here, and a little bit more blue at the bottom. The canvas does take quite a lot more paint, so I need to mix a bit more paint really than I'm mixing. Let's go again. And in terms of thinning the paint, I like to use it as fairly strong. So I just thin it a tiny bit to get it to flow, not too thin at all. And then with this one, it'd be working up to the edge. I think the reason I've decided I quite like doing the light first is it's sort of easy to contaminate the white colour. So I was really taught to work background to foreground and to put the darks on first and then the lights. But I found in recent years sometimes it works better just putting some light in places. So that could be a bit. Let's work a little bit, and that can be all blue in there. And then I'll turn that into a shadow colour now with a little bit of brown and a tiny bit of crimson or magenta. And I really try and see as many colours as I can in the clouds. Just make that a tiny bit darker and stronger.
So to make that grey pool, you said brown and crimson to the blue, did you?
Yeah.
Is that like burnt umber?
Yes it is, yeah. Burnt umber or raw umber. I think this one's burnt umber. And it's actually, I think I've got magenta there, but it's a similar sort of crimson-y. I guess that's my taste. Other people might have a slightly different take on it.
No, I'm just thinking about how to make a colour.
Yeah.
That's problem.
Yeah. So, working, actually quite like to work a little bit dark like that. This canvas is really dark actually, so you can hardly see the difference there. I'll just do a little bit on this one too. Quickly. This is coming out a bit browner. So yeah, we can make that a bit darker down there. And then I'll lighten it up a little bit at the top. I've got to leave me gap, never mind. So let's just put some light on that one there. So it's a matter of probably just a light touch. And as I put thicker paint on, it's going to pick up what's underneath. So I'll need to just widen my brush a little bit when I'm picking up other colours. So it's perhaps, I think I find that easier. And then just working the. And once you've got a dark in, sometimes I just work a little bit of light into that. And the other thing you might want to just sort of blur a few edges with your fingers. And that can look quite nice. quite effective. Or a brush, or dry brush, something like that. Yeah, I think perhaps just sort of darken that a little bit at the bottom, but yeah. Is that okay? Yep. If anybody wants to, if you want to try oils, water mixable oils, and you haven't got any, I've got a set here, but spare set that I've got given. So if everybody wants to borrow